after the October 7 attack by Hamas on Israel. Hours later, at 2 a.m. in the morning, Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations backed by Iran attacked Israel in support of Hamas. Let's be clear, Israel did not launch this war. The Lebanese people did not seek that war either, nor did the United States. Over the past year, including the days immediately following October the 7th, I directed the U.S. military to flow assets and capabilities into the region, including aircraft carriers, fighter squadrons, and sophisticated air defense battery to defend Israel and deter our common enemy at critical moments. Since the war with Hezbollah began, over 70,000 Israelis have been forced to live as refugees in their own country, helplessly watching their homes, their businesses, their communities as they're bombarded and destroyed. And over October 7 style terrorist attack in northern Israel. But lasting security for the people of Israel and Lebanon cannot be achieved only on the battlefield. And that's why I directed my team to work with the governments of Israel and Lebanon to forge a ceasefire, to bring the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah to a close. Under the deal reached today, effective at 4 a.m. tomorrow local time, the fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end. Will end. This is designed to be a permanent cessation of hostilities. What is left of Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations will not be allowed, I emphasize, will not be allowed to threaten the security of Israel again. Over the next 60 days, the Lebanese army and state security forces will deploy and take control of their own territory once again. Hezbollah terrorist infrastructure in southern Lebanon will not be allowed to be rebuilt. And over the next 60 days, Israel will gradually withdraw its remaining forces. And civilians on both sides will soon be able to safely return to their communities and begin to rebuild their homes, their schools, their farms, their businesses, and their very lives. We're determined this conflict will not be just another cycle of violence. And so the United States, with the full support of France and our other allies, has pledged to work with Israel and Lebanon to ensure that this arrangement is fully implemented, the agreement totally implemented. There will be no U.S. troops deployed in southern Lebanon. This is consistent with my commitment to the American people to not put U.S. troops in combat in this conflict. Instead, we, along with France and others, will provide the necessary assistance to make sure this deal is implemented fully and effectively. Let me be clear. If Hezbollah or anyone else breaks the deal and poses a direct threat to Israel, then Israel retains the right to self-defense consistent with international law, just like any country when facing a terrorist group pledged to that country's destruction. At the same time, this deal supports Lebanon's sovereignty. And so it heralds a new start for Lebanon, a country that I've seen most of over the years, a country with rich history and culture. If fully implemented, this deal can put Lebanon on a path toward a future that's worthy of its significant past. Just as the Lebanese people deserve a future of security and prosperity, so do the people of Gaza. They too deserve an end to the fighting and displacement. The people of Gaza have been through hell. Their world's absolutely shattered. Far too many civilians in Gaza have suffered, far too much. And Hamas has refused for months and months to negotiate a good faith ceasefire and a hostage deal. And so now Hamas has a choice to make. Their only way out is to release the hostages, including American citizens, which they hold. In the process, bring an end to the fighting, which would make possible a surge of humanitarian relief. Over the coming days, the United States will make another push with Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Israel, and others to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. With the hostages released and the end of the war without Hamas in power, that becomes possible. As for the broader Middle East region, today's announcement brings us closer to realizing the affirmative agenda that I've been pushing forward during my entire presidency. A vision for the future of the Middle East where it's at peace and prosperous and integrated across borders. A future where Palestinians have a state of their own, one that fulfills its people's legitimate aspirations, one that cannot threaten Israel or harbor terrorist groups with backing from Iran. A future where Israelis and Palestinians enjoy equal measures of security, prosperity, and yes, dignity. To that end, the United States remains prepared to conclude a set of historic deals with Saudi Arabia, to include a security pact and economic assurances, together with a credible pathway for establishing a Palestinian state and the full normalization of relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel, the desire they both have. I believe this agenda remains possible. And in my remaining time in office, I'll work tirelessly to advance this vision for an integrated, secure, and prosperous region, all of which strengthens America's national security. Getting all this done will require making some hard choices. Israel has been bold on the battlefield. Iran and its proxies have paid a very heavy price. Now Israel must be bold in turning tactical gains against Iran and its proxies into a coherent strategy that secures Israel's long-term safety and advances a broader peace and prosperity in the region. Today's announcement is a critical step in advancing that vision. And so I applaud the crazy decision made by the leaders of Lebanon and Israel to end the violence. It reminds us that peace is possible. Say that again, peace is possible. As long as that is the case, I will not for a single moment stop working to achieve it. God bless you all. I'm sorry to keep you waiting so long. May God protect our troops. Thank you.
Get a ceasefire in Gaza before leaving office? How is this push any different from the previous one?
Mr. President, what have you told the new administration?
The latest chapter in the shakeup at the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office starting here at 6. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm Colin Mayfield. Now, after weeks of trying, tonight, our team was able to ask Sheriff McFadden about the list of allegations from former employees. Among those allegations, claims of unprofessional leadership and racism, comparing McFadden at the helm to a third world dictatorship. WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker has been following this saga since it started and spoke to the sheriff himself. Austin.
We talked for a few minutes today on camera, the first time since those allegations, but a big takeaway from Sheriff McFadden. He says he is ready to move forward. Monday, the first time WCNC Charlotte hears from the Mecklenburg County Sheriff, Gary McFadden.
We've moved on. Why can't we move on, and why can't we be better?
4 weeks, we've tried speaking with the sheriff, wanting explanations onto the multiple allegations. Last week, the sheriff releasing this video.
Today, I want to apologize.
Apologizing for using racist language.
That white captain, I don't know who that.
And defending his office after his former chief deputy, Kevin Canty, resigned, writing a letter filled with allegations of employee mistreatment and disrespect.
I have a quick question.
Monday, we hear from Sheriff Gary McFadden.
As far as the third world dictatorship.
Do you have a direct comment about how you were compared to running this as a third world dictatorship?
Well, that's his opinion. Is this today? Did this look like a third world dictatorship today to look at this? To look at what we are doing? That's his opinion, and I respect his opinion, but that's not how we run it here.
I had so much hope.
WCNC Charlotte speaking with former employees of the Sheriff's Office. Angela Rigsby, the former Director of Business Operations at the Sheriff's Office, telling us she was terminated without cause and is in full agreement with Canty.
Do you think there has to be some truth in there if there's multiple people talking about the same exact thing?
Well, it's their opinion. Their opinion. What would you say? And what would you say? What would you say how you seen the sheriff's office ran, and what would you say how you seen the sheriff's office ran? And it's different. Does this look like a third world? No, and I hate to say this, as many people as they brought forward, we could do the same thing, but we don't think we have to do that.
The sheriff touting his accomplishments, calling his office an example to other offices across the state, saying the focus on his office has been unfair.
We do not do balanced reporting on what goes on at the sheriff's office. We do sketchy reporting. If you look at all what we're doing here, we are at a great agency.
Now today I did ask his press liaison for a one-on-one, seeing if we can sit down with him to answer all the questions. I am still waiting on that response. In Uptown, Austin Walker, WCNC Charlotte.
Tonight, we're getting a closer look at a program geared to help underserved communities and those looking to make a career in tech. Per Scholas is a nonprofit that offers free tech skills training to prepare people with the skills and knowledge needed to succeed. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris has more on the program, seeking solutions to close the tech gap in our communities.
Well, Charlotte is home to a nonprofit organization that is offering more than just free tech training to the community, but for some, they say that it's an opportunity that they wouldn't have without Per Scholas.
An opportunity for education, an opportunity to take it to the next level without having to worry about going into debt.
Chris Ham dreamed of building a future around tech work. After graduating from Per Scholas, he achieved it.
I definitely had the goal of getting into the cybersecurity space, and I knew, putting my mind to it, I would achieve it. I just never knew I would be able to come as high up as I feel as I am now.
Per Scholas is an organization that offers free tech training that helps advance economic opportunity and mobility.
They come through a program, and generally within 6 months to a year after graduating, they're in a position making over $21 an hour.
Michael Terrell with the nonprofit breaks down how Per Scholas has made a difference for every individual that's went through the program.
We see that in the community, right? You see folks who are going through and they're getting these really good paying jobs. They're getting great benefits. They're not having to be as reliant on public assistance. They're a greater benefit to the tax base. So really, it's not just about the individual benefit, but it's about the benefit overall to the community.
Those currently attending can't wait to see what the future has in store for them.
How has this really changed your vision?
I'm more optimistic. I'm excited that I'm about to graduate, and I'm jumping up and down.
Dive in. You have nothing to lose. It's zero cost to you. You have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. It's structured. It's not designed for you to fail. They'll train you up. They'll pay for you to take your CompTIA exam. It's an incredible program.
For those interested in Per Scholas, we've posted a link on our website at WCNC.com. In Uptown, Miles Harris, WCNC Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte is making a difference with your help. When you share your news tips, we go to work.
I sent you that email. 15 minutes later, you're responding to me.
When a Charlotte woman battling cancer lost her health coverage, we demanded answers.
Within hours of WCNC Charlotte asking questions, the agency responsible quickly corrected its mistake.
Let us get to work for you.
Reach out to news tips at WCNC.com. WCNC Charlotte, news that impacts you.
Charlotte's Megan Bragg looked into that today. She verifies for us.
Well, there are so many questions surrounding how Susan Smith is even eligible for parole. So we are taking a look at South Carolina law to better understand how she is eligible even after getting a life sentence for a murder conviction. So to get answers, we went to the South Carolina Department of Probation, Parole and Pardon Services and South Carolina law. Under South Carolina law, if anyone was convicted of murder before January 1st, 1996, they are eligible for parole after 30 years. Now, Smith killed her 2 children in 1994 and was convicted in 1995. So she made the cutoff and has now served 30 years. For anyone who falls under this cutoff and is not granted parole at their first hearing, they are eligible for a parole hearing every 2 years. Now, according to the State Department of Probation, Parole and Pardon Services, a decision to grant parole requires a 2/3 vote of board members present at the hearing. Parole in South Carolina is granted only about 8% of the time and is less likely with an inmate's first appearance before the board in notorious cases or when prosecutors and the families of the victims are opposed, like in Smith's case. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Well, right now, Madalina Kojikari is still missing, and today marks 2 years since the young girl was last seen getting off her school bus in Cornelius. And it wasn't until weeks after this video was taken that Madalina's parents reported her missing to police.
This led to those parents' arrests, who both spent time in jail for their handling of her disappearance. It is a case that continues to raise questions as the search goes on for Madalina.
Now, this story weighs heavily on the community in Cornelius and beyond. So, of course, we know today's anniversary hits hard for many folks. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre has been working on this story since we learned of Madalina's disappearance. So, Jesse, you sat down with the Cornelius police chief. What did he have to say tonight?
Well, Police Chief David Bokum tells me that the search for Madalina Kojikari is far from over, and he says this will not turn into a cold case. He adds investigators have dedicated thousands of hours to this case, and despite the passage of 2 years since her disappearance, the police remains committed to finding her. 2 years later, the whereabouts of Madalina Kojikari remain a mystery.
We really have mixed emotions. You know, when this case first started 2 years ago, none of us thought we would be here today.
Still searching for the Cornelius girl last seen here getting off the school bus in November of 2022. Thursday, the Cornelius police sharing these photos marking the day. Madalina's mother, Diana Kojikari, pled guilty to failing to report her daughter missing, spent almost a year and a half behind bars for it, and has been named a suspect in the case. Diana has also been confirmed to be out of the country. 2 years later, still many unanswered questions.
We feel like that Diana has some of those answers. We made every effort we could to make contact with her after release. We did several interviews, and we still weren't able to determine where Madalina was based on those, and then she made the decision to go to her home country.
Chief David Bokum says Diana maintains not to know where Madalina is and says there are no record that Madalina left or was taken out of the country.
As far as we know, she's still here in the United States.
And investigators believe Madalina is alive.
So we found no evidence that would lead us to believe that she is deceased.
Madalina's stepfather, Christopher Palmer, was found guilty of the same crime, a jury taking less than 30 minutes to deliver that verdict. During the trial, Palmer revealing a pattern of unpredictable behavior and intense religious rituals by Diana, who he said called the shots and took primary care of Madalina. Palmer is out of custody on supervised probation. He has since filed a notice to appeal his conviction.
We've spoken to him, but we have not formally interviewed him.
So now what? Bokum says there are only so many details they can share as this is an ongoing investigation. But the work to find Madalina and investigate every lead continues.
It's always challenging. You know, we wanted a resolution to this case early on, just like this community did. But, you know, we have stayed the course, and we've always said from the very start that our goal is to find Madalena, and we're not going to stop until we do.
Now, to recap, Diana Kojikari is currently free from any active charges related to her daughter Madalena's disappearance, though future charges remain a possibility. A $25,000 reward is still being offered in this case for any information leading to an arrest or conviction in connection to Madalena's disappearance. Back to you guys.
All right, Jesse, thank you. And folks at home, we know this Madalena Kojikari case has many twists and turns, and the developments can be a lot to keep up with. But if you scan that QR code on your screen, it can take you to an interactive timeline that our digital team has put together, and it will walk you through the major plot points of this case, from when she was last seen to Diana Kojikari's departure from the United States and everything in between. Once again, that QR code will take you to the timeline and other details. You can also find it inside our mobile app or on our website.
When severe weather impacts the Carolinas, you can help us tell the story.